How to Avoid and Report Scams Zoom program. We're going to be recording this for viewing purposes later. With us tonight, my name is Mary. I'm the Adult Services Specialist at the Union Township branch, and with me is Vic.
Hi, I'm Vic. I am the Adult Services Librarian here at the Union Township branch, and I am here for any technological needs you have, any questions you can send to me through the chat function, and I can help you take care of those.
And with us tonight are Sarah from the Cincinnati Better Business Bureau and Katie from the Ohio Attorney General's Office. Thank you both for joining us. So I think without further ado, we're going to go over the organization of this. So to start with, we're going to have Sarah and then Katie present their presentations, and then we're going to open it up to questions. And if you have any questions or issues in the meantime, please send a chat message to Vic, who is the host of the Zoom meeting. So I think I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Sarah to start with.
All right, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We just practiced this. I should know how to do this. There we go. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Sarah Kemmerer. I'm the Public Relations Specialist for the BBB of Cincinnati. We serve Southern Ohio, Southeast Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. I do ask that we're going to cover a little bit of a lot. So if you have any specific questions regarding a tip that I give, a certain scam, I encourage you to ask it right then and there. That way the information is fresh in our heads. And this is one of my first webinars, actually. So in case I can't answer your question for whatever reason, I will make a note of it, I'll jot it down, and then we'll reach back out and talk about it a little later. Can I click the screen? There we go. So a little bit about Better Business Bureau before we dive in. We serve over 20 counties in Southern Ohio, Southeast Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. And we have over 6,500 accredited businesses. So that'd be amazing if we have 65,000 accredited businesses. A lot of people think of us as the complaint people or the accreditation people, but we really handle a lot more than that. Yes, those are two very large branches, but we accredit charities. We have dispute resolution in case a complaint can't be resolved. We do advertisement review of fake advertisements, investigation of bad scams in businesses, and just general consumer education like tonight. Just advanced marketplace trust, which is something that we really could all be doing more of and need a little bit right now. So I wanted to dive into that it's no secret that seniors get targeted way more than any other age group. It's because they typically have more assets and disposable income. They typically have better credit. They're very polite, well-mannered, and they're more trusting and willing to lend a helping hand. And, over this past year, seniors may have been in isolation over other age groups. So their fear has really increased, and they're more dependent on that communication with just about anybody. In 2020, this past year, we had over 46,000 scams. That's the right thousand words. So we had over 46,000 scams get reported to Scam Tracker. And Scam Tracker is the Better Business Bureau's tool to investigate scams in the tri-state area. So you're able to submit your experience to scamtracker.org, and you can see what other people have to say about what they're experiencing in your zip code. So out of that 46,000 scams that were reported, that actually resulted in over $670 million lost to victims. And a fun tip for another way that seniors target scammers is that $150 was the median loss to those 65 and older based on our Scam Tracker report. So every year we collect the data from Scam Tracker, the tool that I've been talking about, and we compile it into a risk report. So we're able to analyze that data, and that kind of helps customize our reach. So before we dive in, I don't want to scare anyone with these types of scams. This presentation, along with Katie's later on, it's meant to empower you and it's encourage you to teach how to speak up, how to say something. Asking a family member or a friend to review something could be the difference between losing a few $1,000s, not losing anything at all, which I don't think anybody likes losing a little bit of money. So let's go over the top 3 most common scams that were reported to Scam Tracker in 2020 by seniors. So number 1 are travel scams. This branch is so large because there are so many different variations of travel scams. So, of course, what are the most popular travel scams? First, you have vacation rentals, and this is where scammers will post listings of properties that either just aren't for sale, they don't exist, or they're significantly different than what's pictured in the listing. Next, we have free vacations, air quotes, of course, and often enough, this includes cruise ships or travel companies. They will advertise a vacation as free. But of course, it doesn't mean the trip is entirely without cost or restriction. There could be some sort of add-on fees for transportation, port charges, taxes, tips, or any other undisclosed fee. Next, you have hotel scams, where the scammer can fake front desk calls. They can offer free Wi-Fi, of course, which isn't free, or they may offer fake food. And of course, you have those third-party booking websites. Now, there are many third-party booking websites that do exist, but we've received reports from Scam Tracker of scammers pretending to be these online booking sites, and they'll actually charge you, and then they'll cancel your flight, your rental car, or your hotel room. And lastly, we see timeshare reselling cons. And this is where the scammer will encourage the person to purchase a timeshare, and they'll do it in a very positive and upbeat manner. But then they'll pressure the target into paying large upfront fees. And then, of course, the timeshare is never delivered. So what can you do about timeshare and travel scams? So first, always look for reviews online. Take the time to search the business that you're working with. Search their name along with the terms scam or complaint to see what other people have to say. You can ask your friends and family members for references. You know, chances are someone has an incredible vacation experience, and they would be more than happy to help you share travel agents, hotel rooms, fun travel, things that they did with their family. Next, never wire money or use any prepaid debit cards or gift cards. Always use a credit card because it offers the best protection in case something were to happen. And just generally speaking, always listen to your gut. This is a great time to take a step back and think, hey, what am I actually looking at? Something doesn't feel right. I have that gut feeling. We should always listen to it. Snoop is one of my favorite ones. I think snooping and creeping on the business, look at what other people have to say. You can find a profile on bbb.org to see pending complaints, if there are any positive reviews, or if you're looking to try a new travel agency. And lastly, that brings to my next point is work with professionals. I know that people spend a lot of money on their vacations, so we always want to work with professionals to ensure that you are getting the best bang for your buck and you're getting the best out of your travel experience. So before I move on to the next scam, does anybody have any questions about travel scams or timeshare scams? Cool, let's move on. I also can't see the chat box, so I'm sorry if I missed something. All right, so the next most common scams are online purchase scams. We know that online purchasing, they skyrocketed this last year because of the pandemic. You know, we brought family members, we bought above ground pools, we bought back massagers, we bought at-home office equipment, and probably some sort of exercise equipment that none of us probably use. And that's okay. You know, many local businesses had to take their storefront online because their doors were closed. So now it's kind of the social norm to buy things online. And, you know, we were also bombarded with these advertisements across social media for great deals. We saw free shipping and a lot of BOGO deals as well, like those buy one, get one. And of course, we saw a lot of scams. So generally what happens is when you purchase something online, you either never receive the item, or you receive a poor quality version of the item, or you just don't receive anything at all. So before going into what we can do to help ourselves when we're shopping online, I wanted to ask a question. And you can answer this in the chat box. You can say it out loud. Give me a 1, 2, 3, 4. So the question is, what online purchase category did victims lose the most money to in 2020? Medical and nutrition, clothing and accessories, motor vehicles and parts, or pets and pet supplies? Give you a minute to think about it. Make your best estimated guess. And the answer is pet and pet supplies. The median loss to pets and pet supplies was in 2020 was $750. Now, this includes puppy scams. This includes buying equipment or toys for your new pet that you adopted over quarantine. So $750 is a lot of money. And of course, who can't resist this picture of a cute corgi? So also, switching gears a little bit, something that I did want to point out is many times you go into Google and you search for a company that you want to purchase with, and you're typically greeted with these advertisements before getting to the actual website. So in this case scenario, we have WordPress. It is a website for people to create websites on their own. And you see that I typed it into Google without searching WordPress.com or WordPress.org. So many times, scammers will actually impersonate these websites and purchase that advertisement space. So let's say if you search Amazon or Apple or Target or really any big name brand, you pretty much click on the first thing that you see. So fortunately, in this case scenario, when I search WordPress, I don't see the word WordPress in the second or third option. Now I do see the word, wait, can you see my mouse? Is this nice? Awesome. Okay, so in this case scenario, I searched the word WordPress and you see the word WordPress. So if I'm not really thinking about it, I'm going to immediately click on the first link. But when you look at it, the actual WordPress website isn't until the fifth one down. So this is a great example that we want to take our time. We want to search for the actual link before we are taken to a fake website that a scammer impersonated with. All right, so finally we have tips for safe shopping online. Like I just said, and I showed you an example, know the advertiser, look exactly what you're looking for. If you come across the URL and let's say you're searching for Apple and there are 3 P's instead of 2 P's, that's a good indicator that that website is fake. So just know the advertiser and know what the logo looks like and what the actual website is supposed to be. Next, check the website security settings. So the URL should include the HTTPS : and then the 2 black backslashes. Let me see if I can type this in the chat really quickly. So it should look like this. There we go. If you see anything that is missing the S, if there's only 1 backspace, or if it's not there at all, that's a good indicator that the website isn't secure. And we only want to use secure websites. Next, take your time and look and read for the fine print in their return policy. I would hate to receive an item that is the wrong size or it's the wrong color, and then I can't return it. Or I return it for a store credit when maybe I don't want the item anymore. Next, watch out for those too good to be true deals. There could be hidden costs, or you could automatically get signed up for a monthly fee if you don't read carefully. Next, always protect your personal information. This is another general rule of thumb. Read the website's privacy policy to understand what personal information is asked from you. And again, shop with a credit card. It's the best way you're able to dispute charges in case you do come across fraudulent transactions. And lastly, always keep documentation of your orders. This is another great way to have proof that you ordered something in case you do want to return it and get a full refund. Does anyone have any questions about safe online shopping so far? I'm going to look at the chat really quickly. Nope, that's okay. All right, moving along at number 3. Our romance scams. Now, romance scams are actually one of my favorite scams to talk about. And it's because online dating nowadays is so acceptable across different age groups. You know, in the last few days, or not last few days, I'd say the last few years, maybe 10 years or 20 years, it's really ramped up in usage and accessibility. You have so many different age groups, demographics. These dating apps are so customizable. So yes, we're talking about scams that target seniors today, but really romance scams can target any type of demographic out there. I'd also say that you have these fake profiles. So the general rule of thumb with online dating is that you see these fake profiles and they have these really attractive looking photos and you match with them and then you fall in love. But of course, this whole term is called catfishing, and it's just a very common term of deception. And unfortunately, the median loss in 2020 was $3,000 to romance scams for those that reported it. So that's significantly larger than people losing money to those pet and pet supply scams, which were $750. So another reason that it's one of my favorites to talk about is because there are so many different variations. But here's the basic formatting of how a romance scam works. So of course, you match with this profile and they are just the most attractive person that you have ever seen. Unfortunately, it's because those pictures were probably taken from another account. Then, of course, after you start talking to them, the scammer will encourage to communicate with you off of the app, and they'll do it very quickly. They'll suggest that you start talking over the phone, over text message, over email address, even a Zoom call or a Skype call or FaceTime. And it all just happens very fast. But, you know, all of a sudden your new boo thing will counter a personal emergency, no matter how much financial success they claim to have, how much assets they have in their name, no matter where they live. They have a personal emergency and they need your help. Of course, they also need your money is what they're trying to say. Now, of course, the victim will feel responsible because they are in a relationship and they feel attached to this person. So unfortunately, the victim will give personal information, credit card or bank account numbers, or Venmo them, or Cash App, or any type of those peer-to-peer payment apps. Will just send money their way because they think that they love them. But of course, the scammer, all they want to do is just steal your money, and then they will ultimately block further communication with you once they receive that information. So tips to spot these romance scams. Like I said before, it's very important with romance scams to spot the red flags before your feelings start to take over and that relationship becomes too real and it gets too deep. So like I said, if their pictures are too good to be true, I'd like to think that we can talk to as attractive people as we want, but sometimes you have to critically think about, you know, does this really make sense? Am I actually talking to Brad Pitt? I wish I could, but unfortunately, he's too hot to be true in this case scenario. Now, unfortunately, they also could have those tales of success, and they just seem too perfect. Another, like we talked about before, in the general rule of how romance scams work, is that they're in a hurry to get off the website. They want to move fast. They want to establish that trust, and they want to begin a relationship as fast as possible. And a very big red flag is that they start talking about a future together with you within the first few days of talking to each other and matching over the app or the dating website that you're using. They'll often say that they've never felt like this before, to keep your attention and to keep that passion and love. Now, a lot of the times they will not want to meet in person. Aside from COVID, they will say that they're in the military, they live overseas, they live on the other side of the United States, and now they may just use COVID as an excuse, which of course these are also red flags. A really big one and easy one to spot right off the bat is just watch out for their language. So if you see that they have a lot of spelling errors, that they have grammar mistakes, and if they just talk in a way that's very different from where they say they're from, those are very good indicators that they are not in your hometown and they're not a few blocks down the street from you. And of course, the classic tale are these hard luck stories. They have all the money in the world, they have private jets, they vacation all the time, but they have hard luck stories and they need your money, and you are the only solution to the problem. So before I move on, does anyone have questions about romance scams? I don't see any in the chat box. I'll give it a few seconds. All right, and away we go. So now that I've scared you enough with all of these scams, what can we do to empower you? The best piece of information we can give is to block and delete. So once again, if you have that gut feeling, if something just doesn't seem to be right or it's not settling well with you, block the number and delete all messages. It's important to delete the message after you block the communication so you don't click on any links or attachments or any pictures that are attached to those emails and text messages. And we just don't want to have any form of fraud happening without you realizing it. So it's best to block the email, block the text message, block the phone number, and just delete all further communication. Now, there is the do not call registry. Those are typically for telemarketers. They will not work for scammers. But of course, if you are very tired of telemarketing, you have the website right there and the phone number that you can add your phone number to, and it'll typically work within the next month or so. We are now in the age group and the time where we can let all phone calls go to voicemail and go to answering machine. That's a really great way to screen those calls, to see if the scammer is real, to see what type of message they leave. And of course, if it's an emergency, they'll keep calling a little bit down the road. They will not just leave a message and never talk to you again if it's a real person. And if you do feel compelled to answer the phone all the time, if you do like communicating with people over the phone, have a script near your phone that if you do start to get that gut feeling, it helps ensure that you don't fall for these high-pressured sales tactics. So come up with this refusal script and helps you take control of the conversation. And lastly, like I said, the general rule of thumb is to never give out any personal or financial information unless you initiate the phone call. So as an example, let's say I get contacted by the IRS through a phone call. One, the immediate red flag is that the IRS will not communicate with me through the phone. But if I initiate conversation, let's say if I have questions about my tax return, if I initiate the conversation, I give them a specific phone number to call, then they call me back and I know exactly who I'm speaking with, then I would say that that's an authorized feeling to have in order to give your personal information too. But general rule of thumb, don't give any personal financial information unless you initiate the phone call. And what else you can do, because you can never take too much precautionary. Always use secure payment methods. Remember when we're shopping online or if we're navigating things online to only use secure websites and look for those privacy policies and make sure that we are using secure websites. If anyone ever brings up gift cards, wire transactions, peer-to-peer payment apps, that's an immediate red flag to stop communication. So always use your credit card for additional protection in case something were to happen. And again, always safeguard your personal information. Make sure you don't have your social security number just up on your computer or any type of bank account or anything that's easy for people to see. Do not trust strangers that call. If you don't know who you're talking to, if you can't put a name to the face, it's best to just hang up the phone and stop communication with them. And of course, always check out companies on bbb.org. You're able to see the positive experiences that people have. But you can also see complaints and negative reviews that people have, which will help you navigate what you're looking for. And of course, I talked about Scam Tracker a lot today. You can submit your experience if you've lost money, if you know someone that's gone through a scam. We want to see what's happening in the tri-state area, and that allows me to get the word out about what's happening. So please report all of your incidents to scamtracker.org. And lastly, thank you so much. This was one of my first webinars, and it is so wonderful, and I can't wait to answer your questions. If you did have a specific question, or if you wanted to file a complaint, you can do so at bbb.org/Cincinnati. The phone number is right there. We have all of our social handles. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the fun. And of course, if you have a specific question, you can email me at marketing@cincinnati.bbb.org. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and then, okay, perfect. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you so much. Katie, please go ahead and give us your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, that was an excellent presentation, Sarah. Thank you so much. All right. A lot of the information that Sarah covered, I will also have in my presentation. So I am going to skip right ahead. So my name is Katie Harper. I'm from the Ohio Attorney General's Office in the Consumer Protection section. And we enforce laws when it comes to buying a vehicle, store advertisement, home improvement work, basically making sure that consumers get what they pay for. So that's kind of our role. We also have a consumer complaint division. So if you feel like you've been taken advantage of by a company, you can file a complaint with our office and we can try to help resolve that problem for you. So first, I'd like to start and kind of go over with you some of the common red flags, some of the common tactics of a scam. And I know Sarah talked about wire transfers and prepaid money cards or gift cards, but it really can't be emphasized enough. The number one red flag in any scam is a request to be, send money via gift card. The second, request for personal information. So when we're talking about personal identifiable information, things like your name, phone number, address, bank account information, social security number, your Medicare number, any online social media passwords or logins for different commercial accounts, whether it be in Amazon or wherever you do your online shopping. So when I grew up, it was called stranger danger. And my mom told me, don't tell anybody where your home address is or don't give out your phone number. Kind of think about those things that you may have said to your kids and apply them to your personal information. Pressure to act immediately. For whatever reason, the most common time period tends to be 24 hours. And this happens with a lot of our imposter scams, that they will threaten to cut off benefits or take legal action within 24 hours if you don't do whatever they are requesting. And then request to keep the conversation a secret. This in particular happens a lot with romance scams. The person who is on the other end will make it seem very Romeo and Juliet, and we want our love to be a secret, and other people wouldn't understand, and I only want to talk to you anyway. This is really so you can't have that gut check with your support system that may say sending someone $500 a month is a bad idea. Sometimes this also happens in job work from home scams, saying that this opportunity is only available, to you. And if other people found out about it, you wouldn't be making the great commission you are. So be aware of that, of having people request to keep the conversation a secret. The second group is what I like to call the too good to be true group. Guaranteed to make money. Now, if I could sit at home and stuff envelopes and make $5,000 a month, I might not be presenting to you right now. So think about those maybe low skill, high pay opportunities that are coming to say, well, you have to have an attention to detail or something. Now, guaranteeing to make money, that's a red flag. Request for a large down payment. This may be with a home improvement scam. So if this person, again, one of the common things that we heard in Sarah's presentation was that it was someone approaching you. So if you have someone come up and say, I can really fix your front porch for a great deal, but I'm going to need 50% of my costs so I can go out and, buy the materials. That should be a red flag. Of course, working for attorneys, we have to talk about contracts. Either no contract or nothing written into the contract. Just anytime you're dealing with contract, make sure the entire contract is complete and signed, where there isn't any room for the person taking it back to just any of the information. And then sending money out of the country. This one can be a little bit more difficult to tell at first, but if you know you're sending money out of the country, that's definitely a red flag that it's a scam. So, the grandparent scam. This, unfortunately, is one of the most common scams because, as I found out when my parents became grandparents, any version of the word no just seems to go out the window when it comes to the grandchildren. And this is why scammers try to impersonate grandchildren. So what will happen is you'll receive a call, and it's topical now because it's spring break time. And even though many people aren't traveling this year, some people still are. So they'll call and say, "Grandma, this is your favorite grandson." And they'll do that. They'll wait for just a moment. They're waiting for you to fill in that information. "Oh, Joey, is that you?" "Oh, yes, it sure is." "Well, Grandma, my car broke down on the side of the highway on the way to Florida, and I need you to send me, an Apple gift card or an Amazon gift card of $250 so I can get my car fixed. And please don't tell Mom and Dad. They told me to take it to the mechanic before I left, and I didn't, and I just don't want to hear it from them." So they will continue, if you do send money, to try and up that ante. So what do you do if you think someone is trying to impersonate your grandchild? Ask a question that the grandchild would know. Now, if it is, "Where did you and your parents used to go on summer vacation?" Florida would not be a specific enough answer because so many people go to Florida. It would have to be, "Oh, we went to Orlando and we stayed with Aunt Patty." That would show that they had specific knowledge to that particular vacation. And whether they tell you or not, before you ever send any money, confirm with either the grandchild or a family member that the grandchild is traveling. And as hard as it is to say, just don't send any money. The imposter scam. So there's a couple of different types of imposter scams. They generally revolve around impersonating a government official or law enforcement official. The two kind of most frequent that we see are either the IRS or Social Security. And you'll get a call saying that there is something wrong with either taxes that you filed or, say, your Social Security income. They will then threaten, if you don't confirm your account information, to stop that payment. Social Security or the IRS are never going to ask you to confirm your Social Security number with them. If there is a problem, you will most likely receive a written correspondence first from the agency. I know I had an accident on my tax return one year where I filled in the wrong little line, excuse me, and ended up owing some money. I got a very nice letter from the IRS saying, "You made an error on your taxes. Please submit X amount of dollars." And it gave me like a month to do it. So if there is a legitimate reason for the agency to be contacting you, you'll get something in the mail from them. They won't be calling you or emailing you. And don't trust your caller ID. Why? There's this thing called spoofing. And what spoofing is, the caller is able to make the phone call come from whatever number they would like. So they may put your local Social Security number office, and it looks like that on your caller ID. So be very careful of that. And again, don't provide any personal information. If you really are concerned and just can't get over the idea that I'm going to lose my Social Security benefits, or I'm going to get a huge fine because something's wrong with my taxes, end the call and then independently research what the number for that agency is. And you can call back using the number that you have looked up. Never call back using the number that was provided. Let's see. I'm going to skip over this to the computer repair scam. And that'll be my last scam to talk about. The computer repair scam is particularly important because we've been spending so much more time online this year. How the computer repair scam works, it's either two ways. It may be a pop-up on your computer, or you may receive a phone call. Either way, the scam will direct you to check your antivirus software. So the caller may say, I'm really concerned that your antivirus software is out of date, and that opens you up to a lot of malware and viruses that can shut down your computer and can leave you exposed, open for identity theft. We had an example. I was at a Seniors Day tabling event about 2 years ago now, and the gentleman came up and said he wanted to share his story about being a victim of the computer repair scam. So this is what happened to him. He received a phone call, and they said, you know, your computer software is out of date, and the antiviral software is out of date. We can run a scan on your computer to make sure that there aren't any viruses on it. And he said, okay, you know, he wasn't really computer savvy and didn't really feel like taking it into a shop and really didn't want to talk to anybody about it. So the person on the other end of the line requested that he give him the serial number on the back of his computer so he could have remote access to that computer to run the scan to check for viruses. Well, he immediately, the scammer, put a virus onto the computer once he was granted remote access. So after that happened, kind of the big red screen of death came up, and the guy's like, oh man, I do have viruses. And he was really upset and concerned. And the scammer, of course, ever accommodating, said, well, that's okay. For $450, I can do a complete diagnostic of your computer, and we'll make sure that everything's upgraded. You know, you can just give me your credit card number. That scan will take about 30 minutes. Then you can, you know, turn your computer off, turn it back on, and everything will be working well. So he agreed to that. And for a while, it was working very well, until he found out that the scammer had taken $30,000 from his savings account. Excuse me. Now, how did he do that? Because he had access to all the files on his computer during that 30-minute scan time, he was able to find the online login and password that were stored on the gentleman's computer for the savings account. So he ended up working with local law enforcement, and I'm not sure if he got the money back or not because it was still in process when I spoke to him, but let's be positive and hope so. So the lessons from this are never allow remote access to your computer. And remember, anyone who's calling you, or if you see a pop-up, they can't tell if you have a computer virus or not. So it's just bringing home that message that if someone is approaching you and asking you for information, that should be a red flag. Okay, and see if you have any questions about those scams. If not, I will turn it back over.
Katie, we had one question in the chat from someone. They asked, if someone is spoofing their number, is there a way to stop that from happening?
Not a good way. I mean, you can report it to your phone company, but there isn't a way to control that software because it's someone else's software.
We have another question from one of our participants that says, I've heard of ransomware. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Ransomware is kind of what I was talking about in the computer scam. Basically, it's a virus that will attach onto your computer once it's been let on, and it can either delete programs on your computer, it can allow access to your computer. It's basically just kind of like a bug that gets into your system that allows someone else to control your device. And it depends on what they want to do with it is what happens, whether it's just shutting it down or whether it's extracting information.
See, we had a couple other questions during both presentations. One of them was, what should I do if I think a family member is being scammed?
Yeah, I can go ahead and take this one. I think the best thing to do is start asking them questions and try to get the full story of what's happening. Encourage them not to click on anything, press on anything, have them write down notes of the person that they're contacting, who they represent, what phone number they are contacting you, or email that they're contacting you with. And if you think that it's also a scam, encourage them to block that communication, delete their number, and encourage them to go through their computer, maybe clear their browser history, suggest that they use reset their computer. And that's kind of the best way to just evaluate the situation. They may not know they're in a scam, but once you hear maybe a family member say, hey, I think I just won $10,000. Isn't that so cool? They may not initially want to tell you about it, but that should kind of perk your ears up and get you to start asking them more questions to learn a little bit more about the situation.
Yeah, I'd also add if you're concerned it's a family member or it has gone into financial abuse rather than maybe, the Nigerian prince or sweepstakes area, you can contact your local area agency on aging, and they have elder abuse kind of counselors that you can talk to look for signs if it looks like a caregiver or someone else is trying to take advantage of your loved one.
That's some great advice on there. Another question that we had from an attendee, Katie, you had kind of addressed this with I think both of you kind of addressed this, but never hurts to get more information, which is what happens if the scammers threaten you or your family.
If they start threatening you, I think the best thing to do is go to your police department, take screenshots, make sure you record out all details that you can, what phone numbers, emails, address, names of people. Maybe if you're FaceTiming or seeing them through Zoom, take screenshots of their face so that you can present that immediately to the police department to get, so they can start investigating the situation as well.
That is a very good idea. And if you aren't sure how to take screenshots, you can always come to your local library and ask your friendly neighborhood librarian, and we'll be more than happy to help you learn how to do that, either by printing off something for you to take home or even showing you on a device. We have a couple other questions. I don't think we have any more from the attendees so far. Of the questions we have is, which is, how can I avoid being scammed in the event of the death of a loved one?
Can you go ahead and repeat that question?
Yeah.
Sure. It is, how can I avoid being scammed in the death of in the event of the death of a loved one?
Like, as if someone is trying to, like, use their name and the person has already passed, if they're trying to steal money from them, or bank accounts, trying to take over a will.
I think that would be the likely thing. Vic and I found some questions from various frequently asked questions page, and this was one of them. Yeah, something just in the lines of people trying to, I guess, take advantage of people, upsell.
Yeah.
Well,
in that case scenario, emotions are probably running very high. They may just went through a funeral process. It could be very emotional. And quite frankly, the person who's handling the death just may not want to deal with it anymore. It's very emotionally taxing on them. So let's say if someone comes up and asks for maybe like a discounted funeral or a certain casket or something of that nature, it's really best to just take a step back and think about what the person is asking, what they're trying to get from you. And it's also another way you should use reputable places. We are all for supporting the local businesses in our area. They're reputable, they're ethical. A person may come to you with a cheaper option, but in that case scenario, I think it's best to go with what works. So that emotions don't get tied into it, because I feel like the pressure and the emotion and the fear is a very big contributor to those types of situations. Katie, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say, and this is like one of the kind of original scams, right? To be careful how much information you're putting in obituaries and funeral notices about where the decedent lived. So it's kind of the same concept of not posting vacation pictures while you're on vacation, just to make sure that you're not opening yourself up to home invasion or robbery while everyone's at the wake or the service for the home of that person. Now, obviously, people know who they live and they're friends and they do that. That's a whole different problem. But just as a general protectorate for people scanning through, not to put, Katie Harper, who lived, on Columbus Street, 123 Columbus Street, passed away and her services will be tomorrow. Well, we're pretty much guaranteeing that nobody is going to be at the house during the funeral, right? So just to be careful on what kind of information you post that way.
Okay, and another question that we found is, what should someone do if they know that their identity has been compromised? What steps should they first take once they find out that has happened to them?
Yeah, I think I can take half the question if you want to take the other half, Katie.
Yep.
Yeah. So if someone's identity has been compromised, my mind immediately went to credit card and bank accounts. The first thing you should do is go to your bank. Take a look at your statements, your previous, I'd say maybe the first few statements to see if they are transactions that you made. If you don't recognize them, then that's a really good indicator that you need to freeze or stop your credit card accounts right there. let the bank know of what's going on so that they can be aware of any fraudulent transaction in that area. So you have the best chance of not only getting your money back in case it's gone or someone purchases something in your name, but it also just protects any credit card information, bank account information that is under your name.
Yes, I'd say, and I kind of look at it in two different categories, kind of the minor identity theft of someone stole your credit card or you lost it and someone swiped it. That's more containable. Usually you know about that in the first day or two. One of the things you can also do is put a credit freeze on your credit account once you realize there's a problem, so that no one can have access to your credit report. And you can do that through any of the 3 credit reporting bureaus. And currently, they've just expanded it. The credit bureaus, you basically have unlimited free credit reports for the next year. Usually it's once a year through each bureau. As part of the COVID pandemic relief packages, they have extended the ability to do that. So that's a good monitoring device. We also at the Ohio Attorney General's office have an ID theft unit. So if you do find that you've become a victim of identity theft, you can call us at 800-228-0115, and they can help you walk through the steps you'll need. Generally, it's filing a police report. They can help you with letters to the credit bureaus and to your individual accounts that may be exposed. So we're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you. I guess one question that I know that I've gotten from multiple people is where they should store their online information, if anywhere, and in what format. So like, you know, their email, their Facebook, all of their different sign-in, everything.
Mm-hmm. My mind immediately thinks that there are password apps that you can keep all of your private information in one app that is under another password. Even though it's easier said than done, we highly recommend that you don't use the same password for your bank account, for your email account, for your Kroger account, whatever it may be, for your Amazon account, your Target account. Try to divvy it up a little bit, just so if a scammer gets one password, they don't have access to every other bit of your life. I also recommend not taking pictures of your social security number. I don't recommend putting them in your notes app, which, I mean, we've all done it before. I currently have some things in there, but you can add passwords to your notes, whether on your iPhone or your Android. And it's just a better way to protect yourself. You can also add passwords to apps on your phone. And if you don't feel comfortable writing things down, if they get lost, if you can't read your handwriting, whatever it may be, you can also leave a piece of paper. You can keep it with you at all times rather than opposed to putting it near your computer that has passwords on it. Just so that if someone doesn't come up to your desk, or if someone is in your office that shouldn't be in your office, they don't have immediate access to your computer.
Yeah, definitely be wary I think there's different security levels if you have access to a shared computer, multiple people in the house. You know, usually if it's your phone, you're the only person who's accessing it, which is what lends support for those apps.
That's all really good advice, especially keeping them separate from the computer. But so we've talked a lot about digital security today. What if you get something in the mail that you're not sure it is legitimate? What would you do in that case? So you get it in the mail physically, and you're not sure where it came from, or if it's really the person who it says it is. How do you deal with that kind of scam?
Did you want to go first, Katie?
Yeah, sure. I'd say look at where it came from. So if it's from Social Security or IRS, you can take it to that office. If it's anything financial, usually you can take it to your local bank and have them look it over. particularly a lot of the fake check scams are detected that way because financial institutions are so used to spotting that type of scam mail. They can really help you out with that. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, if you're really not sure and you think, what the heck is this? I mean, you have two really great resources here. You can call the Better Business Bureau. We can take a look at what you have. You can also call the Attorney General's office. I think both Katie and I have seen every scam, few and far in between. And we can always smell when something's a little fishy. So this is another example of speaking up and saying, hey, something doesn't seem right. I'd love to get your opinion on this. You can ask a neighbor, friend, or a family member. If you do receive a check or something with your bank account number on it, your any type of personal information, go directly to one of these resources. You can also go to the Federal Trade Commission as well if you'd like, just to get another pair of eyes on it. And then let's say you're cleared, it's no big deal, it's just something trying to grab your attention. Make sure that you shred that piece of paper too that has your address on it, your name. If it addresses you by your name, any type of personal information or identifier on it, that way someone can't go pick through the recycling or whatnot, just so that it's out of your hair and out the door.
This is an interesting one. You talked a little bit about some of this already, but what are some proactive steps people can take to protect themselves from scams?
You want to go ahead, Sarah? You covered this a lot.
I covered this a lot. A lot of the proactive things, they're not really things you can actively do, but my biggest piece of advice is to take your time, do your research, make sure that you're looking at secure websites, that you're not accidentally giving your bank account or your credit card information to someone over the internet that shouldn't have it. Just doing your due diligence, snoop as much as you can, gather as much information, and think, okay, I'm using a new website. I feel confident. This feels good. But then also having a backup plan. Let's say if something just didn't go according to plan, you can immediately call your bank and say, hey, something doesn't seem right. I think I made a mistake. Can you help me out on this? So just taking the recommendations I have is taking your time, doing your due diligence, go slow and do your research.
Yeah, I kind of joke that I could kind of wind my presentation down to 2 suggestions. Don't answer the phone and don't click on an attachment.
Yeah.
So I'm it sounds negative, but really it's being proactive and I think you addressed why seniors are targeted. One of it is because they're polite and socially engaging. It's rude not to answer the phone. No, it's not rude not to answer the phone. They're taking up your valuable time. This is not something that you have encouraged. So you have no obligation to answer that phone or to click on that email.
A saying that I like to use is that it's shrewd to be rude.
Nice.
It's really no big deal. It is no big deal at all. It's better to address an apology saying, oh my gosh, so sorry. I thought I was being scammed. The person should understand. And really that's just it's your way of doing your due diligence. The person should understand in case it's not a scam. I don't want to say trust nobody, but everybody has that gut instinct. They have that too good to be true feeling. So really just kind of collecting all the information and navigating it at your own pace.
Yes.
I have a question from a participant who says, I received an unemployment letter saying that I employed someone that was claiming unemployment. Not me. It was from the unemployment department. What should I do with the letter?
This is a perfect example that you should go immediately to the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services. It's no secret they've dealt with this a lot this year over the past few months. If you go to jfs.gov. They have buttons that you click on where you can immediately go and report the fraud. They've dealt with this a lot. They've made the website very easy to navigate. So if you do receive, whether someone is trying to file unemployment in your name, using your social security number, or if it says that you have employed someone that is collecting unemployment, make sure that, thank you for adding that website. That is perfect. Exactly what I'm talking about. That's a really good indicator that you should go directly to the Department of Job and Family Services and just report it.
Yep. You said it perfectly.
Here's an interesting question that I found amongst the frequently asked questions page. What if I report something and it turns out not to be a scam?
And that's okay. That happens sometimes. People report stuff to Scam Tracker, the tool that I've talked about, and I'm sure the Ohio Attorney General's office, where it may just be bad business. So that's a good example that you can file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. Maybe if you didn't lose money, you can just say, oh, hey, well, whoops. That's okay. You took the time out of your day, something to be proud of, and you didn't lose any money. I think that's something to congratulate.
All right. So in the case that someone does need to make a complaint or report a scam, is there any specific information that they should bring to anyone who they're reporting to? So I know you said earlier screenshots of the person, if it's someone that they have seen. What other information should they report to you?
Yeah, really quickly, just print out emails, print out text messages, record phone calls, record names, titles, names of businesses, and also location as well. Kate, if I'm missing anything, go for it.
Yeah, just as much information as you possibly can have. So if you have the time that they called you and the phone number, if you have, the more specifics that you have, the better.
And again, if anyone is not sure how to get something printed from their phone or email or things like that, this is something that we help people with a lot, not always involving scams, just in general, but you can come to your local library and we can help you print stuff. A lot of the questions that were on these frequently asked questions page and that some of our attendees asked, you have answered beautifully. Vic, do you have any other questions from our list that haven't been answered? I don't think so.
I think, like you said, so many of them were answered in the presentation. So I think you both did a great job with your presentations and with answering the questions afterward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking with us and allowing this to be recorded so we can share this information with everybody. Katie and Sarah, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. And I'll just say, use the resources that we've detailed for you. The BBB wants to hear from you if you have an issue with the business. We want to hear from you if you have a complaint. We have entire groups of complaint specialists here to help you, and that's why we're here to get out the word.
Exactly. I second everything you just said.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. I think this will be very helpful for everyone. Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you and have a great night.
You too.